would say mostly my trades are scalps, which I would consider a scalp like, a few minutes to a few hours. And then intraday trades are anything from a scalp to that day.
Yeah.
And then what I call like a short swing trade. So like a short swing would be maybe 1, 2, or 3 days long. That's primarily what I take. I will do some longer term, like long swings, several days to a week or two, and position trades, anywhere from a couple of weeks to a couple of months. But I tend to do those longer ones on like spot or really low leverage. And then the ones that I do the most of the time, I do, primarily on 50x. That's what I use the most. I don't really feel there's a need to use more than that. I feel that you back yourself into a corner way too tightly. And even though most of my trades are 100x worthy, so to speak, it's still not necessary, and it adds a lot more mental pressure on you knowing you've got this 0.5% room for error. You know what I'm saying? And that like margin of error is like your whole position essentially. Maybe if you do like some of these degenerates and I put my stop loss a couple dollars above my liquidation point, maybe you salvage 20-30% of your trade, but that's not necessary. Like you could do 50x and you could, have your stop loss still within that, 0.5% or 1% overall, but you're only losing a tiny portion of your trade. You know what I mean? So like the 100x thing, yeah, there's a time and a place for it, and it can certainly be useful, and I do it from time to time, but I don't think that it is necessary, nor should it be used by most people. I think it's just a lot of people that we're familiar with, they use it as like ego booster, clout, and all that kind of nonsense. But I've seen so many people end their trading journey before they ever got started, because they thought that in order for them to be good, they had to trade 100x, and that's just simply not the case. The majority of professional traders, ones that have been at it for a long time, they don't trade that kind of nonsense, especially in crypto, because of how volatile it is and unpredictable it can be. Because there's so many inexperienced people in that asset class, so it definitely makes things more. It's like having a kid with like ADD, you know what I'm saying? Like super hyper and just all over the place. Like that's crypto compared to other asset classes.
Yeah.
But 50x is good, man. And again, that all depends on your account size, your risk tolerance, and whatnot.
Yeah. So slow and steady wins the race, doesn't it? I mean, as a beginner
Right.
trader, I know I'm miles away from trading, but as a beginner trader, I wouldn't be trading anything more than 5% of my portfolio or something.
Yeah. I would say, again, this would be, maybe be adjusted depending upon your portfolio size, but I would say 5% will, I think there's a difference between what am I trading and what am I risking. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can very well trade, 10% of your portfolio, but you may only be risking 1%, right? Like depending upon where your stop is. So if your stop is really tight, you can have 10% of your portfolio online, but you also need to keep in mind that extremely volatile times, your stop can get ignored sometimes, depending on how you put it. If you have it set as like market, then it should get hit, right? You may not get hit at the price you wanted to, but you should get hit. But there is a rare occurrences when it can be kind of bypassed and you can get liquidated, but that doesn't happen very often. I've only heard of it happening a few times. It's never happened to me. Um, but you should really look at it as like, what am I risking? Right? Like, what if I get stopped out? What percentage of my portfolio is that loss? And that, from what most people say, should be 1 to 2% is the kind of generic number to go by for that. And I think that's, roughly speaking, I think that's accurate and adequate as far as the loss. That may need to be adjusted depending upon who you are and, you know what I mean, what you're willing to lose and whatnot, where you're at along your journey. But I think 1 to 2% risk is a good place to start. And if you start losing more and more, obviously you're going to keep adjusting that, right? Like, so if your account size, diminishes little by little, like your risk is going to get a little smaller. And that way it doesn't get away from you, right? Because if you keep that risk the same dollar amount versus the same percentage amount, you're going to watch your account just like, just fizzle away into nothing. And that's the way that a lot of people that we're familiar with have kind of taught. And it's why I've seen so many people just kind of fall by the wayside because they run out of money fast. They didn't have a lot to start with. And they also didn't realize like how hard it is to trade and to overcome the mental aspects and just the dedication and time it takes. I mean, you should plan for, at least a year or two before you're reasonably decent at it, minimally. Whereas a lot of these people will kind of frame things in such a way where they're like, oh, become super profitable in 3 months or 6 months and whatever. And it's like, maybe if you got 100 grand, you got a big cushion, I guess, you could do it, but most people don't. They don't have that. So these people are doing a lot more harm than good. And that is definitely one thing that has inspired me to do something I'm extremely uncomfortable doing, like social media and getting on the camera and talking in front of people even without a camera. Like, I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I mean, I do to a degree, but for the most part, I'm an introverted person, and I'm not. Oh, look at me! I want everybody to see me and how great I am. I'm not that person, right? But my desire to want to help people and to combat that kind of crap that people push out there with no concern of who they hurt or the chances of like somebody that's really smart and that would be a really good trader, but that kind of thinking and teaching, it destroys them before they ever get a chance to become successful at it. And that's something that I would really like to combat and do my best to overcome, so to speak.